Good morning and welcome to today. This is the last lesson in Chapter 2. We are just moving so quickly through our curriculum. Yay! Today, Lesson 2.7, Literal Equations and Dimensional Analysis. That's a mouthful, but we're going to go ahead and make it extremely simple. So what we're trying to do today is to show you how you can solve a specific equation or formula for a specific variable. And I'm trying to make it as simple and as easy as possible. The first two examples are a little bit more detailed, so we're going to start out nice and slow with this one. If this were our equation, x plus y equals 7. So step number 1, they will either give you an equation or a formula. They will tell you which variable they want you to solve for. So they're asking us to solve for y. So I went ahead and I put a box around y because that helps me know that's the variable I'm solving for, which means I want y all by itself on the left-hand side of this equation, which also means that anything else that is on the left-hand side must be moved to the opposite side. So I look at x. There is no minus sign in front of it, which helps me to assume that x is positive. I subtract x from each side, and my new equation is y equals 7 minus x, or y equals negative x plus 7. Both forms of this are totally and completely correct. Does anyone have a question? Okay, very simple, very straightforward. Okay, so I wanted to start out nice and easy. Okay, let's look at another example. I would appreciate it if you'd be writing these all down. Our second example here is a formula. If you're in physics, I'm sure you've used this before. Distance equals rate times time. So the first thing you need to determine when you look at a formula or an equation is what is happening between the variables. Are they being added, subtracted, multiplied, divided? And when we look at this, we know that rate and time are being multiplied. What do we want to solve for, guys? We're solving for what?
T.
For t. So who should go in the box? T. T should go in the box. You put in the box who you're solving for. So we're solving for t, which means this. Look at what's happening between r and t. They're touching. So that means that they're being multiplied. How do you undo multiplication, class? Division. So if we want to solve for t, we must do what? Divide each side by what? No, we don't want to divide by t. We want t all by itself. So if we divide each side of the equation by r, we have a new form of the distance equation. T, or the time, is equal to the distance traveled over the rate. One more time. Distance equals rate times time. Rate and time are being multiplied. We want to solve the equation for t. Whoever we're solving for, I go ahead and just put him in a box, or we can use fancy terms and say isolate the variable. So by isolating that, I now know in my brain if r and t are being multiplied, then I must undo multiplication. The opposite of multiplication is division. To have t all by itself, I divide each side by r. r divided by r cancels out or leaves me 1 or 1t. And my new equation is t, time, equals distance over rate. Does anyone have a question? Okay, I'm going to let you try the next one. The next one is area equals length times width. And I would like for you to solve for L. So I'm going to leave you to do that problem, and I will freeze the screen and I will work it while you're working it as well. When you're done, please show a friend your new formula. So sometimes when you're solving a word problem, instead of them just asking you for the area, maybe they gave you the area and they gave you the width, and they say find the length of the rectangle. Okay, what did you guys get for an answer? Everybody together. L equals A over W, or A over W equals L. Okay, so we're going to solve for L, the length. I put a box around him. I've isolated my variable. I realize that L and W are touching, which means they're being multiplied. The opposite of multiplication is division, and I divide each side by W, which leaves me L equals A over W, or A over W equals L. Does anyone have a question? Okay, next one. Circumference equals 2 pi r. These are all being multiplied. I would like for us to solve this equation for r, the radius. Now this time you have to realize that all three are being multiplied. Do you understand? Yes? You can do it all in one step, or you can do it in 2 steps. Okay, when you have an answer, check with a friend. Okay, what did you guys get for an answer? R equals... Outstanding. R equals C over 2 pi. Does anyone have a question? Y'all with me? Let's try another one. Volume equals pi r squared h, which is the formula for the volume of a cylinder, I believe. R is the radius, H is the height. Let's see. Let's solve for H. Solve for H. Another simple one, and then we'll graduate into something a little bit more difficult. Okay, who would like to share an answer with me? One person. Yes, in the back, right here. Okay, or H equals V volume over pi r squared. Excellent job. Very well done. Does anybody have a question? Okay, let's look at something maybe a little bit more detailed and see how we do with something like this. And then we're going to move on. Let's try this. X minus 2y equals 1. Solve for y. I'm going to change the color to brighten it up a little bit. We'll go to red. So I want to solve for y. So everybody just take a look and let me help you get through this. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put this whole thing in the box. 2y. Do you understand? Okay, so this is my original equation. So now if I want y all by itself, remember you have to undo addition or subtraction first before you undo multiplication or division. So the next step would be to get the x to the other side. So what should I do to both sides here? Yes? Very good. We're going to subtract x from each side. So for those people that are in 9th grade or in physics, you are redoing and moving equations all the time in order to be able to solve for a specific variable. And now my equation looks like this. Negative 2y equals negative x plus 1. What am I solving for? Let's never lose sight. What was the variable I'm solving for? Y. So I'm going to put y in a box. Now I'm going to ask myself this question. Self, what's happening between negative 2 and y? They're being, how do you undo multiplication? So we divide each side by negative 2. Okay, now you have two ways of doing that. So let me just show you. You can write the whole thing over negative 2. So your formula or your new equation could be y equals negative x plus 1 over negative 2. Are you with me? Or y equals negative x over negative 2 plus 1 over negative 2. And I'm still not done because this would become y equals x over 2 minus 1/2. Okay, the choice is yours. This is totally correct. This is not simplified. So if you wrote it like that, you would get partial credit, but it's not simplified. These two here are the simplified versions. Does anyone have a question on this example? Yes. Yes. Yes, of course. The order doesn't matter, but this is what I was about to say. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get us ready for Chapter 3, which I know you all remember is y equals mx plus b form, and that's the only reason I'm keeping the x variable first, because that is the slope-intercept form of an equation of a line. Are there any questions? Are you sure? So your homework tonight is 2.7. The top of the page says skills practice. So if you're in honors, your homework is page 2-7. Skills practice 1 through 6, 9, and 19. If you're in regular, it's page 2-7, 1 through 6, and 9. I think I circled them for you. Did I circle them for you or not? Okay. All right. This concludes our lesson for today. Thank you for listening to our recorded lesson. Have a blessed weekend.